Welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with Khalid. It's your boy Khalid here. Just a shout out to everybody that's been showing love over the last few weeks. Always grateful. Always grateful for absolutely everything. I love you guys. I love the feedback, and it just makes my heart so warm that people are out there listening to the things that we're saying, that I'm saying, and also Adele, because shout out to Adele. Spill the matcha. Check it out if you hasn't already. I'm going to get back to that. But if you can benefit from anything that I'm sharing and take it into your life and implement it into your life and have a positive effect, my job is done. If this only helps one person, I always reflect on this and I say to myself, if this only affects one person, my job is done. Even if it doesn't affect anyone, I feel like this is a great therapy for myself because it's an opportunity for me to just express my own thoughts. And I always put it in my head, like I said, if it affects somebody else and someone else can benefit from this, then that's just a bonus. So if you haven't already, my previous podcast was with Adele, or I think it was 2 podcasts ago. And Adele is one of my colleagues at work, and she also has a lot of wisdom to embark upon everybody. But specifically, I want to say that she has a great audience in terms of getting a female perspective on life. She's gone through some experiences in her life, and she has a lot of wisdom and a lot of positive information to give back to the female community. Obviously, me being male, I can't really give you that perspective, although a lot of the things that I say do apply to both genders, as do her podcasts. I must say that specifically, there's a lot of things that women can take from her podcast and apply to their own lives and actually resonate with to give them an idea and a perspective that, I'm not alone. And these things are things that women as a community often think about, but they don't actually express, or they don't have somebody to sort of connect with and resonate with and realize that, hey, I'm feeling this way too. Let me get somebody else's perspective on it. So if you haven't already, check her podcast out. It's Spill the Matcha. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. I'm directing it so you could hear me in the background every now and then. I'm mic'd up. But if you haven't checked that out already, go for it, because I definitely highly recommend it. I'm not only saying this because she's a friend of mine. I'm saying it because as I sit there and listen to the things that she says, I realize that as a male, a lot of the things resonate with me as well. But specifically, it's awesome to hear a female's perspective on things, because often we don't understand that we are different. Men and female, male and females are different. And although we're physically different, physiologically different, we are also mentally different, and we're wired differently. And not to say one's better than the other and go through that full argument on that half. I'm going to stay clear of that. But I will say that the way we contemplate things, or the way a male will contemplate things, and shout out to any non-binary people that are listening, no disrespect, but I'm just going to keep it nice and simple here. The way a male's brain is wired is definitely different to a female's. So hearing things from me, yes, you can apply them to your life and you can resonate with them. But there are a lot of things that I listened to and I thought, hey, I've never thought of things that way, or I didn't realize that this is what goes through a woman's head during these specific phases of whatever it is that we're talking about. So again, check it out. I think anyone and everyone can benefit from it. But I want to take it steer it in a different direction for today's podcast. Today I want to talk about an experience that I had, and this is something that I often think about a lot of the time as well. But there was a specific experience that I had in my life that I reflected upon, and I was like, you know what, this is very important. This is important because we all have this voice in our head, and we're constantly deliberating with it, whether it's within decisions that we make, or whether it's things that we apply to our own life, or whether it's when we talk to ourselves. Self-talk. It's such an underrated thing. It's such a, I wouldn't even say it's something that was not spoken about, but everybody can openly speak about self-talk. And everybody can openly speak about how they want to fill their minds with positive thoughts. But realistically speaking, our default is to turn towards negativity when it comes to ourselves. And if we're not mindful of this and we're not actively working on trying to speak to ourselves more kindly, and when we're making decisions and holding ourselves at a higher standard to the way we speak to other people, or the way that we speak to anybody in that matter, to anybody that we love, we're always mindful, we're always kind, we're always trying to be generous and caring and considerate. But how often do you consider the way that you speak to yourself? And again, this is through an experience that I had. And I'll give you a bit of context. I have a client of mine who's also a dear friend of mine, and he has been absolutely amazing. His journey has been absolutely amazing. He has completely turned his life around in terms of the physical aspect of his life, which advertently affected the mental aspect of his life as well. And he dealt with a lot of problems in his life, and he did have a struggle with his physical health, which also affected his mental health. And he made a decision and he made a choice to turn his life around, which started with him going to the gym and eating better and sleeping better and altering his lifestyle and his routines and the way that he viewed his life, his perspective on life, changing it all. And it's affected his life so much that I can't even explain to you. I've gotten his permission to tell his story, but I won't reveal who he is, but he does know who he is because I've spoken to him about it. But what I am going to say is I'm going to give you a bit of context as well about a specific thing that happened. So we arranged to go for a run together during Ramadan. Every Saturday before we broke our fast, we were going for a 5K run. Shout out to Salah. Salah organized the Ramadan 5K run. So this is an initiative, a free run that everyone could get involved with every Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, and just before pre-iftar, so pre-breaking our fast, everyone would gather together and go for a 5K run just for fun, just to promote health and community and fun. And I think it was a great initiative. I really enjoyed going for those runs. It was just a good way to release. And even though we were fasting, it actually just made you feel so much better. I digress. So we arranged to meet up and go for this run together. And he's run half marathons, which is absolutely amazing. So running for him was not something that was foreign, but he hadn't run for a while. But we did arrange to meet together and go for this run. And I said, look, man, I'll be happy to join you and we can go together and just make a day out of it. So we went for this run and the whole group took off and we just went at our own pace. It's not a competitive run at all. It's just something to do for yourself and to enjoy with the community. So we arranged to just go together. And as we were running, we got, a couple of Ks down and it was obvious that it's been a while. And to be fair, we were both fasting and it was a hot day. It was a struggle. And constantly my friend had to stop. He had to catch his breath. He had to sort of recollect himself. And for me, I didn't batter an eyelid because it was fine for me as well. I mean, I didn't mind stopping either. And the conversations that we were having while we were running were better than the run itself. So for me, I did not care whatsoever. However, my friend constantly was apologizing. And he was apologizing every time he had to stop. Maybe he felt like he was slowing me down, which in all honesty, I didn't really care, and I wasn't competitively running. And to be honest, even if I walked it, I wouldn't have even minded. But going back to it, I was reflecting, and he kept apologizing every time we had to stop, and I had to keep ensuring him that, brother, it was no problem. I mean, I have no problem with stopping. I don't mind. Take your time. We can walk, we can run, we can do whatever. I don't mind. I'm here for your company. But as I reflected on this afterwards, I said to myself, you know what? You need to be unapologetic in all forms of your life. When it comes to any decision that you've made in your life, when it comes to any sort of thing that you have persevered and you've come so far in your journey, you don't need to be explaining yourself to anybody. Obviously, I'm speaking subjectively, but in saying that, when we make a decision in our lives, provided that is a positive one, provided it's one that's enhancing the quality of our lives and it's a decision that we made ourselves, we do not have to explain ourselves to absolutely anybody. We don't need to compare. We don't need to explain. We can be unapologetic about absolutely any decision we make in our lives, because at the end of the day, it's your life. Nobody, absolutely nobody's criticism, opinion matters. Because at the end of the day, it's your bed and you sleep in it, right? Every decision that we make as individuals, yes, they can have repercussions on other people. But when a decision is solely for yourself and you have reflected and you've looked intrinsically and you said to yourself, hey man, this is something that I want to do for myself, you do not have to explain to absolutely anybody why you're doing it, how you're doing it. You don't have to explain yourself to absolutely anybody. You know, I'm reiterating this point because at that point in time, I thought to myself, man, I don't want you to apologize while we're running. I was like, bro, don't worry about it. Don't even sweat it. You don't have to apologize to anybody. And it brought me to the thought of like, we need to be unapologetic about every circumstance that we find ourselves in, where we consciously make a decision within ourselves. There is absolutely no need for explanation to anybody. And as I was thinking about it, I thought to myself, this is the little voice in your head. The little voice in your head that's sitting there trying to think that you're holding others back or other people are thinking something about you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I want to play a little voice message that I sent to my friend afterwards when I did reflect. And I don't think it's going to sound perfect, but it is what it is. And another thing that I was reflecting on that I wanted to run by you and also tell you is that you never ever need to apologize to anybody at any stage in your journey, in your actions. If your intentions are sincere, there is no need for apologies. Be unapologetic about everything in which that you do, because you're bettering yourself for it. You don't owe anyone apologies. I noticed this because you kept apologizing to me, but there is no need. You don't need to apologize to anyone, my brother. You just need to do your thing and keep heading on the journey and the path that you're on. So I was on the spin bike at the same time, so you probably heard the thing rotating. And I don't know how that's going to sound, but hopefully you heard what it said. And it goes back to what I was saying. If you have your purpose and you have your cause and you've looked within intrinsically and said to yourself and decided, this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm going to do it, you don't need to explain that to anybody. You just need to take what you're doing, continue on what you're doing, and if people are always going to have opinions, people are always going to have their perspectives, people are always going to give you unsolicited advice, but they're not you and they're not in your situation. If you sit and reflect and see how far you've come, nobody can tell you anything. You can just go about your way. And provided that everything that you're doing is having a positive effect on your life and of course the ones around you, all of that energy will gravitate towards you. So as long as your intentions are sincere, as long as you're following your path and you're on your journey, the opinions of other people has no effect on that whatsoever. Mark my words. Because too much of the time, we allow this external voice, the external voices, it may be the people around us, it may be the people we love, it may be people that we don't know. But why should we even have to consider it or consider them when solely the effects of everything that I'm doing is going to ultimately affect my life predominantly? So why not put the most energy into that? Which brings me to my next point of self-talk. That little voice in your head that you always hear, that little voice in your head that you deliberate with, we need to change that voice. We need to train that voice, and we need to silence that voice when we have to. We need to constantly check ourselves and check the way we speak to ourselves, because yeah, it's so easy to be kind to others, but why aren't we kind to ourselves? Why don't we appreciate ourselves? Why don't we express the love that we have, the love that we express to others? Why don't we express that same love to yourself? Because you are deserving of it. More than anyone else, you're deserving of your own love. And most people don't have so much of a problem to express that love to others, but when it comes to expressing self-love, we hit a wall. We hit this wall because we think we don't deserve it. We don't think we've earned it. But why? Why are others deserving of our love, but not ourselves? And I think that's a question that we have to constantly ask ourselves and check ourselves, because self-talk can change the course of your life. It can change your energy. It can change your momentum. It can actually change anything that you're actively doing. If you just tell yourself that you can do it, more or less, you'll be able to do it. At the same time, there are times we need to silence that voice in our head. But if we're practicing constant practice of positive self-talk, constant practice of positive self-love, constant practice of rewarding ourselves, rewarding our achievements, making it known that I'm proud of me. It's like that Snoop Dogg speech that he gives, and he's like, and most of all, I want to thank me, because if it wasn't for you, you wouldn't be where you are right now. I hope everyone's in a positive space and everyone's going in a positive direction, and the direction that they want to go in, and they're doing things actively to get them there. Who's at fault for that? You are. So why should you not appreciate yourself? Why should you not give yourself a pat on the back? It's not narcissistic. It's not being self-loathing. It's not being egotistical. Of course, there are limits to everything that I am saying, but you need to reward yourself. You need to give yourself that pat on the back. You need to appreciate yourself and appreciate what a great human being you are. If your intentions are good and you're on your purpose and all you're doing is spreading love and positivity, why should you not practice that on yourself? And I'm going to keep it short, this one, but it really hit a nerve with me because I catch myself sometimes, and it's so easy to default to the negative. It's so easy to default to things that are going to bring ourselves down and put others up. But then think to yourself, you need to take all that energy and bring it back to yourself. Bring it back to one. And when you fill your own cup, just like the saying is, you have the ability to give to others. But if you spend all your time and energy giving it to others, being appreciative of others, practicing love and loving and caring of all the other people around you, but neglecting yourself, eventually you'll burn out. Eventually, you'll fall within this cave of self-doubt. And that voice in your head will overcome you. And you'll always think that everyone else is deserving of my love and my appreciation, but I'm not. It sounds silly when you say it out loud. So I'll just leave you with, I hope everybody listens to this and says to themselves and identifies the fact that I'm worthy of the love that I give to everybody else. I am the most worthy of it. And on that note, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you for everyone's support and love. Again, I love doing this. This is like a self-therapy for me. And until next time, peace and love you all.